Can you believe it? This She-Hulk is actually stronger than Hulk Banner. Banner first reaches out to press against her forehead, shoving forward like he's operating a bulldozer. But Jen just slams her tiny foot down on his big one, then nails him with a suplex, sending Banner flying well over 300 feet away. Jen doesn't stop there. She leaps right after him for a war stampede. But Banner dodges just in time, and she ends up stomping nothing but air. Now Banner's ticked off too. He slams his hands together hard, dropping his signature move, Thunderclap. The gust of wind is so powerful it flings Jen into the air, and she crashes face first into the ground. Jen sees how awesome that move is, so she tries it too. She slaps her hands together, but nothing happens. It's like hitting a soft pillow. Banner chuckles. You think learning a signature move is that easy? This isn't child's play, you know? But Jen's not giving up. She slaps her hands again, and hey, it actually whips up a gust. After that, she just keeps clapping nonstop. She used to be a close-range tank, but now she's suddenly a long-range mage. Banner collapses to the ground, clutching his head and groaning in pain. They're about to start fighting again, and you're probably wondering, who even is this She-Hulk? And why are they going at it? Well, it all goes back to the Battle of Earth against Thanos. Hulk Banner puts on the Infinity Gauntlet, and just to bring back half the universe, he snaps his fingers. But the Hulk pays a steep price. His right arm is permanently shattered beyond repair. He has to wear a brace just to hold it up now, a total one-armed giant. Then one day, Banner goes out with his cousin Jen. They're munching on snacks and chatting it up, having a good time, when out of nowhere, a space fighter cuts them off in the road. Jen panics, slamming on the brakes hard. The car spins wildly, bouncing around before careening off a cliff and crashing into a heap of wreckage. After the crash, Jen struggles to climb out of the driver's seat. Her left arm is gushing blood, a real mess, and one of her shoes is nowhere to be found. But she doesn't even care about the pain. She yanks open the passenger door and drags Banner out. That's when a few drops of Banner's blood fall right into Jen's wound, and guess what? That green blood shoots through her veins in an instant. Jen glances at her reflection in the car door by accident, and she freezes. She's turned into the Hulk. Scared of being seen, she bolts into the woods to hide, but she passes out after just a minute. When she wakes up in the woods later, her body's back to normal. She finds a bar, ducks into the bathroom to clean her wounds, and even borrows a phone to call Banner. Then she stands outside the bar, waiting for her cousin. But it doesn't take long before 3 thugs spot her, a lone girl standing there, and they immediately get bad ideas. They saunter over, trying to pick a fight. Jen's instantly furious. Her eyes glow bright green, and in the next second, she's a 6'7" She-Hulk. Those 3 thugs are so scared they're shaking like leaves, clinging to each other. Jen's about to throw a punch, but just in time, Banner shows up and tackles her to the ground. When Jen wakes up again, she's in a bar on a tropical island. Iron Man's broken mask is sitting right next to her. She follows the sound of music down to the basement, and turns out, it's Banner's lab. Turns out Iron Man actually built this lab for the Hulk. Banner tells Jen, "That ship that cut us off, it's a Class 8 messenger vessel from Sakaar. I'll look into it later, but first, we need to fix your transforming problem." After Banner runs some tests, he finally figures it out. Jen got infected by his blood. Normally that gamma radiation would kill someone, but Jen has a unique gene in her body that twisted the radiation's effect. That's how she became She-Hulk. And here's the crazy part. When Banner's arm touched Jen's blood, it healed like magic. Banner immediately destroys all the remaining blood samples. Next up, he's going to teach Jen how to control her transformations. After that, Jen gets locked in the lab wearing a titanium alloy helmet. They're testing how scared she needs to be to transform. Banner hits a button. The wall behind Jen starts sliding toward her, and 21 saw blades pop out, spinning like crazy as they close in. Jen slams her hands against the glass, yelling, Banner doesn't stop, not even for a second. The saw blades slice the helmet in half. If they move just a little more, they'll cut Jen. That's when Jen's fear hits maximum, and in an instant, she turns into She-Hulk again. She shoves both hands forward, and the entire saw blade wall crumbles to pieces. Banner's actually happy, saying, "Great job," but She-Hulk just rips the lab door off its hinges. Slamming it onto Banner, crash. The door smashes to bits.
No, easy.
Why are you talking to me like I'm a stray horse?
Banner finally snaps out of it. "Are you still Jen right now?" Jen's confused. "Who else would I be? That just makes Banner mad. I spent over a decade merging the Banner and Hulk personas into one," he says. "And you? You don't even have a second personality? To be safe, Banner insists on teaching Jen to control her strength. Without it, the Hulk's destructive power would definitely become a danger to everyone. They try yoga together, and Jen shifts back to human form in a second. She thinks it's super easy. She's sure she can control her emotions, no random transformations. After all, she's in a hurry to get back to her job as a lawyer. But Banner won't budge at all. No way, he says. Banner creeps up to Jen with an air horn, then he gives it a blast. Jen jumps up in shock and turns into She-Hulk right away. Banner looks pretty satisfied. You can leave this island only when you learn to control your emotions. Before they start training, Banner has Jen put on a pair of tech-enabled stretch pants. So you don't rip your clothes when you transform. It'd be super embarrassing, he says. Their first drill is throwing boulders. Banner lifts a boulder that weighs several tons with one hand, flicks his wrist, and it slams into the ground, rolling a full 330 feet. Jen grabs a boulder too, heaves it with one hand, and it flies 165 feet farther than Banner's. Banner isn't happy about that. He picks up an even bigger boulder with both hands, his arms bulging like cannon barrels. He gives it a hard toss, and the boulder shoots all the way into outer space. Jen watches, clapping nonstop. She's totally impressed. Next up is War Stampede. Goal: jump almost 1.86 miles. But Jen nails it on her first try, no sweat at all. Then they move to balance drills. Banner gets down on his hands and knees, lifting his legs up. He thinks this will stump his cousin. But Jen, she's like a gymnast. She drops to her hands, does all kinds of tricks, and even gives him a thumbs up at the end. Fourth drill, strength training. Banner slams his fist into the ground and a crack spreads across the dirt. Jen copies him, slamming her fist down, and the cliffside nearly crumbles. Trees in the distance topple over in a heap. Jen's so excited she starts dancing. Banner thinks she's showing off, so he shoves her hard, right off the cliff. As Jen tumbles down, she flips Banner the middle finger playfully. Fifth drill, drinking. Hulks have super fast metabolisms. We can hold our liquor like pros, Banner says. They drink day till night. But the next morning, Jen wakes up with a splitting headache. Turns out, even with her Hulk powers, alcohol still hits her hard. Jen finishes all the drills and thinks she can control her transformations now. She wants to leave the island. She just got hired as a lawyer a few days ago, and she's ready to get back to her normal life. But Banner stops her. You're not a regular person anymore. If you transform in front of people, they'll call you a monster. Quit being a lawyer. Come protect the world with me. Jen has no interest in that. She plops into her car, starts the engine, and gets ready to drive off. Banner grabs the front of the car with both hands. "You dare try to leave?" he says. Jen's just as stubborn. She slams her foot on the gas. The car lurches forward, lifting Banner off his feet and slamming him into a pile of boulders. Jen jumps out to check on him, but Banner's totally unharmed. He mocks her. "All you got is cheap shots. No real skill." That sets Jen off. She turns into She-Hulk and punches Banner's glasses until they shatter. Banner holds his head and Jen slams her foot down on his toes, then hits him with a suplex. And just like that, we're right back to the fight we saw at the start. Later, Jen masters the thunderclap and uses it over and over on Banner, making his head throb. She smirks, ready to leave, but Banner suddenly charges at her with a Hulk charge, slamming her into a coconut tree. Jen snatches a few coconuts and hurls them at Banner like bullets. She tosses a cage over him too, and right after Banner yanks it off, Jen slaps him in the face with a surfboard, breaking the remaining arm of his glasses. Now Banner's really mad. He tosses his broken glasses aside, grabs Jen, and slams her to the ground. They roll around, crushing a whole row of trees, and finally crash into the bar, smashing it to pieces. Banner stares at the wreckage, devastated.
My ball!
Sorry.
You're fixing it!
Later, as they work together to repair the bar, both of them realize they were wrong. Banner finally agrees to let Jen go. They hug, and Jen sets off on her new journey. Can She-Hulk be a lawyer? Jen's about to find out. Her first case starts now. She's just about to begin her defense when the wall behind her crashes open. A woman bursts in. Jen dives under the table on instinct. Then she catches herself. "Wait, I'm She-Hulk. What am I scared of?" She kicks off her heels, tightens her fists, and her body puffs up like a sponge soaking up water. She's She-Hulk again. Everyone in the room freezes, shocked. The blonde woman hurls a table at Jen, but Jen catches it and hurls it right back. Then she throws a hard punch, slamming the blonde woman into the wall, leaving a huge dent. The woman twitches, unable to move. Jen shifts back to her human form, slips her heels back on, and calmly starts her defense. Word of this spreads fast. News outlets can't stop talking about how She-Hulk saved the jury and pulled double duty as a lawyer. She becomes an instant star, and everyone's talking about this regular guy superhero. That night, Jen goes to a bar, and people even recognize her. They come over to chat, but it doesn't last long. Her boss calls her in for a talk. Earlier that day in court, Jen transformed into She-Hulk to take down the attacker, but that move ended up invalidating the verdict. The judge said since she saved the jury, they might be biased toward her, and that wouldn't be fair to the defendant. Her boss pulls her aside and says, "Now that you're a symbol of justice, you can't be a lawyer anymore. Lawyers don't need to stand for justice. They just need to fight for their clients." That's when Jen realizes her career as a lawyer is over. She goes to every law firm in the city, but none will hire her. She feels totally lost, like she's lost her way. It's only then that she starts to understand what Banner has told her before. "If I'd known saving people would lead to this," she thinks, "I would have thought twice." That night, she sits alone at a bar, having a drink to drown her sorrows. Then a man named Holloway walks over and offers her a lawyer job at a firm way bigger than her old one. When Jen shows up, the employees are pretty shocked. The She-Hulk they've seen on the news is actually standing right in front of them. Jen feels awkward under all their curious stares. So Holloway explains, "I know regular firms won't hire you, so I start a new one. We only take superhuman clients." Jen isn't sure at first, but her best friend talks her into it. "Look at this office. It's so spacious. The mini fridge is perfect, and this desk is big enough for both of us to nap on." Her friend adds, "Plus, how many clothes have you torn from transforming? Without a job, how are you going to buy new ones?" Jen thinks about it, and she has a point, so she agrees. But when she finds out who her first client is, she instantly regrets it. It turns out She-Hulk is supposed to represent the villain Abomination. His sentence is up, and he specifically asked for Jen to help him with his parole hearing so he can get out of prison and rejoin society. Jen's face drops. "That guy destroyed a military base and almost killed my cousin," but Holloway insists she meet with Abomination first. Reluctantly, Jen agrees. When Jen gets to damage control, she goes through guard checks, walks through a light grid, navigates a maze of hallways, signs a liability waiver for any injuries, and finally opens a 2-inch thick steel door. Only then does she see Abomination. But he's nothing like the monster she imagines. He isn't some terrifying beast, just a chill guy in his 40s or 50s sitting with his legs crossed and wearing flip-flops. Abomination speaks up first. "I know you're scared of me. I get it. You think I almost killed your cousin. But back then, the government gives me the super soldier serum. I'm a soldier with pride. I have to follow orders." After he says that, he pulls out a small notebook. Inside are handwritten letters of apology and haikus. He even mentions he's made 7 pen pals, all women, through his writing. And once he gets out, he wants to open a therapy clinic to help people work through their problems. Abomination is over 10 feet tall, a huge guy. If they let him out of prison, would human society even be safe? Jen can't make up her mind, so she calls Banner to ask his opinion. Banner says, "Abomination writes me a letter once. Sends me some haikus, too. The haikus are actually pretty good. Let the past stay in the past." Then he starts rambling on, asking if she likes her new job, if she's eating well. Jen feels warm inside listening to him. She asks when they can meet up. Banner says he's swamped lately, but they'll get together when he has time. As soon as they hang up, the camera cuts to Banner sitting on a comm ship, and he disappears into space in an instant. With Banner's words in mind, Jen lets go of her doubts. She's determined to win the case for Abomination. Then she turns on the TV, and there's a leaked video. Abomination is at an underground fight club. He's escaped prison. Jen freezes.
That sucks.
That's it for episodes 1 and 2 of She-Hulk. If you want to see what happens next, type a 1 in the comments. And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.